Welcome to The Rebound with Coach Matt Doherty.
Welcome to The Rebound. I am Matt Doherty, and I'll be your host. On this show, we explore remarkable rebound stories of resilience and recovery. We highlight the leadership qualities that emerge in the face of life's toughest challenges, revealing the strength and determination within individuals that inspire us all. This past summer, we were able to connect with many politicians, journalists, and newsmakers that shared their journeys through adversity. This adversity revealed their character and inspires us all. The common thread in all these interviews is the impact of leadership. In my book, Rebound from Pain to Passion, I outline 6 key aspects of leadership with the acronym STEVIT. That's STEVIT. With these personal interviews, we are able to identify these principles in critical parts of our guests and their stories. Here is the breakdown of STEVIT. The S in STEVIT stands for self. You must know yourself. The first step in effective leadership is self-awareness. Understanding your own personality, your strengths, your weaknesses is crucial. We all have blind spots, and the better we understand them, the better we can lead others. I was fortunate to sit down with Hall of Fame basketball legend Nancy Lieberman. Nancy is a great example of someone who knows who she is. This pioneer has reflected on her flaws through the years, and she's not afraid to speak about them.
For myself, I do games for Fox, college games. I'm coaching in the Big Three. This will be my 6th year. I left the NBA to work for Ice Cube. How great is that? To have him as my boss and my friend.
Yeah.
But my charity is a game changer. You know, if you would have asked me, like when we were both like in our 20s, like, what are you going to do in 30 years? I'll be like, I'm a baller. I'm trying to be the best basketball player in the world, this, that, and the other. It bordered on a little bit of arrogance, a lot of confidence, because that's what we're sort of bred to be. And I had so many like super cool mentors for me in my life. I had Muhammad Ali. I've had Warren Buffett. I had Kobe. I had really some super great people, including Billie Jean King when I was 22. And each kind of poured into me, like, what are you going to do? Do you help you or do you help others? And I think when you're young, you're like, yeah, I'm like, I help everybody. But it made me take a step back and realize what exactly am I doing here? And so as I got older and, you know, had my son TJ and I was married, you start thinking, you know, your thought process changes every 10 years because you morph into who you're really supposed to be. And that's what my charity is. You know, I was a poor kid growing up in New York City. I was born in Brooklyn, grew up in Queens, in Rockaway. I had no father, had no food, had no heat, had no electricity, and we were one grandparent away from food stamps. Those are the things, Matt, that I was trying to hide from you when you knew me, when I was in college and playing on U.S. Olympic teams, because I didn't want to feel less than. But I was really broken and angry my childhood. And that's what fueled how I played on the court. Like people would say, man, you played like a guy. Yeah, I wanted to kick your ass every time because it allowed me to let go of what I was feeling inside. And I really didn't know how to manage that. And I've poured that into my charity.
What's the name of your charity?
It's Nancy Lieberman Charities. We're a children's charity. We've given over $11 million the last decade to the underserved kiddos, because I know what that feels like.
The first T in STEVIT stands for team. Know your team. Leaders must understand the individuals they lead, their strengths, weaknesses, fears, and dreams. Only then will you be able to put your team in position to be successful. I had a chance to talk with Notre Dame's 2-time national champion lacrosse coach, Kevin Corrigan, about knowing your team. Kevin allowed his players to create a culture to achieve their goals. He's a unique coach, teacher, and leader.
2 years ago, three years ago in May, we were left out of the NCAA tournament. Now, the first half of that year, our leading scorer did not play. He was coming off knee surgery until halfway through the season, and our best defensive player was playing on essentially one leg from an injury. When we got everybody back and everybody healthy, we won the last 6 games of the year. We were ranked 4th in the country. We were playing the best lacrosse of anybody in the country, and we were, just so fired up for the tournament we couldn't wait. Maybe I was stupid and maybe a little naive. I mean, we had the whole team sitting there because we're thinking, who do we play? Let's go. We can't wait. We don't care who it is. And we got left out of the tournament, and we felt like it was wrong. But it really also was, in a sense, a great turning point, because I looked at the guys and I said, hey, like, 2 things. One, I don't want to hear anybody and moan about this. I don't care who you're going to get interviewed. You're going to get, you'll never hear me say a bad word about the committee. You'll never hear me complain about this. Because at the end of the day, if we win one more game, they couldn't have left us out of the tournament if they'd have wanted to. And so let's worry about what we control, and let's be accountable to what we did and didn't do. And that is, we didn't win that one more game that made it an absolute non-possibility, right? And despite the fact that we were highly ranked and everything else. So that really set the tone for the next 2 years, which was, hey, we're going to leave no doubt. We're going to do everything we can do, and we're going to hold ourselves accountable to everything that we can do to make sure that someone else doesn't control our fate. And obviously it's worked out pretty well in those 2 years. So
leave no doubt, control your destiny, no complaining, taking it, like a man, in lacrosse, toughness. When you were getting ready for that selection show, in your mind, were you preparing for what if? I like to think on my staff as a coach, we should have a what if person. What if, the plane is late? What if it rains? What if our best player gets hurt? What if we don't get invited? Did your mind even go there before the selection committee made their decision?
It did. Yeah, it did, because I did know that, that there were some people that felt like we hadn't done enough. And I, again, you could have found, things to convince yourself either way. But yeah, I was in some way preparing that, okay, if this doesn't happen, how are we going to handle this? Because listen, in everything, as we all know, in any adversity, there's opportunity. Right. And if you can just kind of get through it and keep your head about you, then there's opportunity there. And you may not know what that opportunity is in that moment, but you don't want to cut yourself off from it by whining or complaining or coming across in a bad way that weakens your position with the team or with the young men that you're coaching and all that. You want to help them, in that moment in a way that you're saying, hey, I can't help us win another game this year, but I maybe can help these guys with something that's even more important at the end of the day. And that's to learn how to handle something that happens to you.
The E in STEVIT stands for knowing your environment. You need to be aware of the context in which you and your team operate, including external factors that may impact your organization. There's no better example of this than NASCAR President Steve Phelps. Steve was the first non-family member to lead NASCAR while having to reinvent his sport in the face of a passionate fan base. His goal was to align the NASCAR brand with a more contemporary theme in order to broaden the fan base and make it younger for the future. Steve made some courageous decisions to help reinvigorate NASCAR. You were basically brought in to initiate change, and you had a vision. Now, I've seen this a lot in sports. Yeah, we want change, we want change, we want change. You come in and create change, and then people don't like change.
I agree.
And so they fight it. And then you can look behind you, and now all of a sudden there's nobody there to support you. The same people that said, we want change, we want change. How did you know you had the support to initiate the change, knowing it was going to make people uncomfortable?
Yeah, so I'll give you an example, actually, Matt. So I think, for us, we needed to change, right? Schedule variation. I mean, we had to shake things up, right? Because if you kept doing the things the way that you were doing it, we were going to fail. And so for us, I think in 2020, not just the pandemic, but how we were able to navigate social justice. People's perception of our sport is that we're a Southern sport. And we are certainly proud of our Southern heritage and our roots being here in the South. But we are far broader than just a Southern sport. But one of the impediments we had as part of, kind of being from the South was the display of the Confederate flag at our facilities. Right. And so we ended up making a decision that we were going to ban the Confederate flag at all of our racetracks nationally. The support that you were asking about, the most important support I need is from my two owners, Lisa and Jim, and they supported that decision. It's not an easy decision when people's perception that your entire existing fan base is going to leave. I didn't think that was going to happen. I knew we were going to lose a minority of folks who just, this isn't their cup of tea anymore. I understand that. But I was certain that we could bring others to the sport, younger, more diverse people into the sport, both working at NASCAR, ownership of NASCAR, and then the fan base itself. What I was surprised with, Matt, is how quickly that happened. I mean, we saw that within weeks. Athletes that were coming, celebrities that were coming, people of color, seeing the youth come. At the end of the year, we were one of the fastest. We were top 10 brands, not sports brands, top 10 brands growing with Gen Z. I would have bet my house that never would have happened, but it happened because of this, the changes that we made in the sport in 2020. And lo and behold, very quickly, Pitbull became an owner. Michael Jordan, it's all UNC all the time, became an owner, and others, younger ownership coming in. And that has fueled continued growth of our fan base. And then just look at our employee base, people who would never consider coming to NASCAR now work here. And I'm proud of that. The diversification of not just the workforce, but how we're thinking about the business is important. That goes back to change. And you're right, Matt. People don't like change. They just don't. And there's some that embrace it, and others that you gotta, drag kicking and screaming. But we're going to do that. And we've had significant success by changing the way things that we've done. And not change for change's sake. Change, meaningful change that is really rooted in strategy and, looks at what's the risk assessment for us to do that. And it's worked for us.
OMJ Clothing is an elite men's clothing store that provides a vast array of spectacular brands of men's lifestyle apparel for every day. Elevate your business upscale casual at OMJ. Success comes from standing out. The Rebound is sponsored by Sector Spider ETFs, a unique family of exchange-traded funds that divide the S&P 500 into 11 sector index funds. You can buy just the sectors you like or customize the S&P 500 by weighting the 11 sectors to meet your financial objective. Please visit them on the web at sectorspiders.com. That's sector, SPDRS.com.
Alps Portfolio Solutions Distributor, a registered broker-dealer, is the distributor for the Select Sector Spider Trust.
The V in Stevitt stands for vision. Effective leaders have a well-defined vision of the future that is crystal clear. They need to paint a clear picture that excites their organization, creating a team of passionate followers. Perhaps the leader that most captured this concept best was former Big Ten Commissioner Jim Delaney. Jim led that organization at a time when it was the most dominant league in the country. His influence truly impacted all sports. Jim ushered in Title IX, which transformed women's sports in America. You can track the women's dominance in the Olympics this past summer to the implementation of Title IX, which guaranteed equal opportunities for women in college sports. Jim had a crystal clear vision that he passionately used to lead and impact all of college sports in our country. He was a domino.
So, and I had been involved in some major negotiations, the first $1 billion TV negotiation from the OVC on the NCAA negotiating committee. So I'd also been involved in major infractions cases and lots of things that were larger than the OVC, but the OVC 10-year experience really helped me mature help my judgment mature, and understand sort of how to manage issues and how to fail gracefully and how to win gracefully and interact with the media. And so at 41, I had 10 years of experience, maybe 15 years of experience in some pretty highly visible pressure situations. So I wasn't overwhelmed, but I have to tell you, the platform is huge.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a quarter of the United States. It dates to 1896. Personalities, whether it was Bo or Woody or Bob, people were known by first names.
The I in STEVIT stands for industry. Leaders need to know their industry. They need to be industry experts. Understanding the trends, challenges, and opportunities is essential for effective leadership. People want to follow competence. Earlier this year, I had a fascinating conversation with a brilliant entrepreneur named Saul Cumin. Saul took his success in finance to enter the very old and prestigious club of professional horse racing. He would break into this group and ultimately conquer this sport by using analytics and contemporary methods of group ownership.
Each horse has a P&L and you buy it for a price and it costs X to run. And, I think you'll like that element because you're competitive. There's going to the races with your buddies that I've got a bunch of friends and thought that'd be fun for me. And then, the family part. He's like, I think your kids would love this. They were young at the time. And so we tried it. There was 4 of us that sort of got into it together. We cobbled together some cash and ended up buying, I think, 4 horses in the first crop and got really lucky day one with one horse that we had named after my wife called Lady Eli. And that horse, which was great. And it, that sort of started us. We went on a journey with her and saw the highs and the lows. And that was honestly what got us hooked.
This last principle is represented by the second T in STEVIT. That T stands for truth. Leaders need to know the truth. This emphasizes the importance of seeking out and facing the truth, even when it's uncomfortable or challenging. If you don't manage the truth will manage you right out the door. Great leaders mine for the truth. We've had some very inspiring and fearless truth tellers on this show, like Kash Patel and Joy Pullman. Pedro Israel Orta is a CIA truth teller who put his entire life on the line in order to embrace his faith and tell the truth. He spoke truth to power. He blew the whistle on the CIA.
Eventually what happened is I blew the whistle on waste, fraud, significant abuses of authority, significant specific endangerment of public safety. Basically, I spoke truth to power.
Right.
I spoke up. And when you speak up, you're basically blowing the whistle. Mm-hmm. You're a truth teller. I told the truth.
Right.
And what happened is instead of trying to fix small problems that could have easily have been fixed, They created a mountain out of a molehill, and it just snowballed and increased in size. And eventually I ended up basically blowing the whistle on the broken whistle. What I mean by that is your ability to speak truth to power, to tell leadership something that they need to hear, is broken because they don't want to hear about it. And in the process of you speaking up, they end up taking reprisals against you. They basically, every element of the CIA that could have easily fixed this problem, whether it was EEO, the Inspector General, the grievance process, human resources, my own career service, all these elements basically became elements of a bureaucratic bullying campaign to silence and destroy me, to get me to quit, to leave, resign. And because I chose not to quit, leave, or resign, but I chose to now blow the whistle to the higher ups, then they came after me to bully me and beat me with the Office of Security, calling me basically an insider threat and threatening to take my job from me. And that's what they did.
Some of our shows are more dedicated to the science of leadership. Recently, we were able to discuss Stevitt and other leadership ideas with fellow leadership expert Patrick Lencioni. Patrick and I had a candid conversation about the power of vulnerability in leadership. He offered insight into his new 6 powers of genius, and I was able to define the 3 things that impact your life the most in this segment. Let's take a listen.
So here's the 6 types of working genius. The first one is called wonder, the genius of wonder. These are people that love to ponder things and ask questions. And they say things like, I wonder if people like this. Or, there might be a better way. Why do we do it this way? They just ask questions. Their head is in the clouds. It's a wonderful genius. Every project needs somebody that say that. The next genius is a genius of invention. This is the person who hears the thing that somebody's wondering about and says, can I please take a crack at coming up with a new way to do things? They like to invent things. I do that naturally. It's a gift of mine. It doesn't mean I'm smarter than the average bear. It just means God gave me the natural desire and joy from coming up with new things out of thin air. I just love to do it. The next genius is called the genius of discernment, which is gut feel and instinct and integrative thinking and pattern recognition. Some people can look at a problem and just look around and say, I think that's the solution. They're just really good at using their instincts and their gut rather than linear information and data. It's something instinctual. It's very real. The next genius is called galvanizing. Some people love to get in front of people and motivate them and rally the troops. And that's, they wake up and they get joy and energy out of that. The next one is called enablement. And this is the genius. When somebody says, I need help, there are certain people that get joy and energy out of saying, I'll help. I'm in. I'm volunteering. I'm stepping up. Whatever you need from me, I will do.
What's the 6th one?
Tenacity. There are people who get joy and energy, because that's what this is about, out of finishing things, out of pushing things across the finish line, out of going all the way, eliminating obstacles, hitting their number, and they do not feel comfortable unless a project is finishable. I have none of that, Matt. I've written 13 books, but on all the books I wrote, I'm halfway through and I'm ready to move on to the next one. But somebody has to force me to finish because I'm not a finisher. I like to start things, but tenacity is not one of my geniuses.
Thank you for joining us on a Rebound special about Stevitt, the 6 No's, KNOWS, of leadership. Leadership is a learned behavior. We all lead in some way, shape, or form. We all deal with adversity. And when you do, I challenge you to rebound. I challenge you to learn and grow. If you'd like to contact me, you can reach me at dohertycoaching.com. That's DOHERTY coaching.com. Thank you for tuning in. Welcome to The Rebound. I am Matt Doherty, and I'll be your host. On this show, we explore remarkable rebound stories of resilience and recovery. We highlight the leadership qualities that emerge in the face of life's toughest challenges. This past summer, we were able to connect with many politicians, journalists, and newsmakers that shared their journeys through adversity. This adversity revealed their character and inspires us all. The common thread in all these interviews is the impact of leadership.